well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Welcome to another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam and Company. My name is Cam Edwards. I'm so glad you've joined us on the program today. September the 1st, a lot of new laws in effect across the land, including some new good gun laws around the country. Perhaps none more significant than the fact that Texas is now a constitutional carry state. And I wanted to talk with somebody from the Lone Star State about Texas' new law, what it means, the gun control activists who are flipping out about the new law taking effect. So I reached out to my friend Michael Cargill from Central Texas Gunworks in Austin, Texas, and he joins us on the program talking about what the new law will mean for gun owners in the state of Texas and how Central Texas Gunworks is celebrating the implementation of constitutional carry. Take a look and a listen. Michael, thank you so much for joining me on the program, sir. It's good to talk with you today.
Absolutely, sir. It's nice to be here with you.
And I'm not sure how we say this. What is it? Happy Constitutional Carry Day? I guess. I don't know. But today is the day that constitutional carry takes effect in the Lone Star State of Texas. I got to ask, what are you expecting in terms of customers coming in? Do you think this is going to lead to an increase in gun sales overall?
No, I really don't. Typically, when people tend to lose freedom, they're on the verge of losing freedom, more restrictions are going to be imposed. They tend to definitely run in and purchase a gun. But when we're gaining freedom, we don't there's no call to action for that. So I don't think, and this is just my prediction, I don't perceive us seeing any influx of people buying guns.
What about training? Because I know that this is something that, we've seen several law enforcement chiefs say that they're concerned about with the removal of a training requirement to get a concealed carry license. Well, I take that back. Concealed carry licenses are still available in the state of Texas, but now there is no requirement that folks have a concealed carry license. If they can lawfully own that gun, they can lawfully carry it. So you've got a lot of chiefs who are saying, well, gosh, I'm concerned that people are just going to, go out and grab a gun. They're going to start walking around. They're not going to be trained. Do you see that being an issue?
You're probably going to see initially, just like other states, what we've seen around the country when they've come with some type of constitutional carry law, people start carrying. But once they figure out this is actually uncomfortable, you got to be dedicated to do something like this, carry a firearm every single day. If you're going to carry it on your strong side, inside your waistband, they're going to notice it's going to dig in their skin. What are you going to do with it when you go to the restroom? If you're not dedicated to this, you haven't already done this already, then it's probably not something they're going to do on the regular basis. Very few people that actually get their license to carry handgun actually carry on a daily basis in the first place. The people that actually take the class, a lot of people that take the license to carry handgun course don't follow through and get their license. So I don't think we're going to see anything that changes. No, there's not going to be, no blood in the street. Nothing big is going to happen. We're going to still have the same amount of people coming into the gun store to purchase a firearm. If they're going to buy a gun in the gun store, they don't have a license. They're going to fill out the firearm transaction record, and we're going to do the FBI background check on them. And then they pass the background check out, they go with the gun. If they have a license to carry handgun, because the license to carry handgun program is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. If you have your license, then you go to Express Line. You come in, we put the LTC information on the firearms transaction record, then out you go with the gun. Nothing's going to change.
Yeah. Well, and I'm guessing it's interesting. I actually saw that the number of concealed carry applicants went up in the state of Kansas this past year, despite the fact that Kansas is a constitutional carry state. We do see in the, more than a dozen states that have had constitutional carry in the books for a number of years, folks are still going and they're getting trained. They are still getting their concealed carry license. Some folks may want reciprocity if they, want to travel outside of the state. But as you say, it generally makes sense, not that there needs to be a mandate for training, but that folks who are going to be carrying a firearm for self-defense, generally speaking, want to feel safe and proficient with that firearm, not because the government tells you, hey, you got to go take a course, but because they want to be comfortable.
Right. What I found last year for COVID-19 when the country was shutting down, we had a lot of people walk to the gun store to buy a gun because they felt that, country's shutting down. Someone may break into my home or something like that. I need to defend myself or my family. So we found is that people wanted to take a beginner class to learn everything about that gun that they were getting. Most people wanted to take a class before they purchased the firearm. So, like I said, I don't see anything that weird is going to happen with this. And I know people are going to get that training because that's the best thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So you would disagree? I ran across an article today from The Atlantic where David Frum tries to lay out the argument that there's no such thing as a responsible gun owner. That's a lie. It's a myth. And it sounds to me like you're seeing plenty of responsible gun owners there come into your shop, whether they are looking to buy a gun, they're looking to exercise their right to carry, but they're interested in getting that training on their own.
Oh, absolutely. I'm seeing people walk into the gun store. They want to take a class first, then purchase the firearm. I've had people come in, take the class, then want a 101 class, learn everything about the gun, and then, have someone help them with that gun purchase. That actually is pretty common with the new gun owners that we saw last year. And it's good that people want to take the class and good that people get their license. You don't have to. It's optional now. And that's what it is. It's optional. You can carry constitutionally or you can carry with a license. But with the license, it does come with, some added benefits. For example, like you said, for reciprocity, it's good to have a license to carry in other states. Texas license is recognized in quite a few states. Also, school zones. If you're within 1,000 feet of a school, under the federal law, you're actually violating the federal law. So it's good to have a license because you're exempt of the federal law. If you're carrying a Texas Constitution, you're violating that federal law. If you're buying a gun, which we talked about, to walk in and out of the gun store really quick, that fast lane, you have your license carry handgun course. We don't have to contact the FBI to do a background check. Your background check's already been done. Also, if you're 18, 19, 20 years old and you're in the military, it's good to have a license. You have to have a license carry handgun at 18, 19, and 20. You have to have one if you're in the military in order to get your license. School employees, if you work for a school district, you have to have a license carry handgun to have a firearm that is a handgun and long gun in your vehicle in the parking lot of a school in Texas. If you're on private property, let's say I go to a business and let's say they have a sign posted, a 30-06 or 30-7 sign that says, as a license holder, I cannot carry a handgun. Well, I have a license to carry a handgun. If I don't see the sign, I don't notice it, they have to give me verbal notice. It's also good to have a license if you're going to the airport. In Texas, you go to the airport, you go to that checkpoint, they say, boom, you have a gun in your bag. If you have a license to carry handgun in Texas and you're in Texas, you have that license to carry handgun, then guess what? They'll say, oops, go ahead and lock it up. You can put it in your vehicle, go secure it. If you do not have your license to carry handgun, it is a felony, 2 to 10 years in jail. It's also good to have a license to carry handgun if you're stopped by police. Any interaction we have with law enforcement, because with this Texas constitutional carry law, it actually comes with a few caveats. You can't be convicted of disorderly conduct discharging a firearm. Cannot be convicted of disorderly conduct displaying a firearm. Cannot be convicted of felonies. You have to be in legally possession of the firearm. Well, if you have any interaction with law enforcement, they're going to have to run your background check. If you have an LTC, your background check's already been done. You're an outstanding citizen. Also, there are two last things, and one is open meetings. If I want to go to a city council meeting and I want to carry my handgun in the open or concealed, I want to go to the Texas State Capitol and I want to carry my handgun in the open or concealed and testify before my elected officials, guess what? With a license, I can do that. Without a license under the constitutional carry law, you cannot do that. And the last one is the legal limit of intoxication goes up in Texas. It actually changes. If you're a license holder, you're carrying a handgun, it goes to .08. If you're carrying on the Texas constitutional carry law, 0 is the limit. You cannot be intoxicated. So there are quite a few reasons why it's good to get your license. It comes with some added benefits.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was not aware of all of those provisions for license holders compared to folks who may be carrying under the constitutional carry law. So I appreciate that information, Michael. I've got to ask you too. I mean, where are we right now? What are you seeing just in terms of interest in firearms and in terms of fear of this new constitutional carry law? Because I think that gun control advocates have certainly done a pretty good job of trying to instill fear in non-gun owners, particularly in deep blue cities like Austin. Do you think that there are people freaking out about this, or are people, by and large, either unaware that this law is going into effect or unconcerned about the new law?
Oh, no, they're definitely freaking out. They freaked out back in 1869 when we first started regulating handguns. They freaked out in 1995 when we first got our concealed handgun license program. They freaked out in 2016 when open carry, became law in Texas. So they're going to freak out regardless. And we can't, there's nothing I can do with their fears. But this is about freedom. This is about liberty. This is about the Constitution. And you should be able to carry your handgun without a license under the Constitution. It says shall not be infringed. We should be able to do this. So this is something that's well overdue. Texas should have done this years ago, and we're actually behind the power curve. And I'm glad Texas is coming online with a lot of other states, for constitutional carry.
Well, listen, I can tell you, you guys might be behind the curve. You're the 22nd state in the union to adopt constitutional carry, but I'm living in West Virginia, and we're going to need some serious help here in order to switch our legislature around in order for us to get constitutional carry. So I'm a little envious of you today, Michael. We do have, unlicensed open carry in Virginia, but it'd be nice if we could become a full constitutional carry state as well. But again, congratulations on the new law taking effect today. Hope that you have a very busy weekend. I got to ask too, before we let you go, what's the ammo situation like these days where you are?
All right. Well, ammo it's getting a little better. It's slowly but surely, but I'm afraid that we're going to have issue with this ban of steel, or ban of ammo from Russia. So that's going to cause a big problem for us. So we'll see what happens with that. But this is September the 1st for Texas. We have a lot of laws that go into effect today, and what we're doing today at Central Texas Gunworks is that since the legal limit of alcohol goes up to 0.08, what we're doing is anyone that walks into the gun store to pick up a handgun, pick up a firearm, they have a light carry handgun, we're going to give them a free beer. Like I said, more guns equals less crime. You go out there and you buy yourself a gun.
I love it. You listen, man, if you were to, give people a cigarette too, you'd be like your one-man alcohol, tobacco, and firearms shop.
Absolutely. I tell you, it's going to be a fun day today. We're looking.
That sounds like it. Listen, I'm glad you could spend a couple of minutes with us today. Michael, thank you so much, my friend, and look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Michael Cargill from Central Texas Gunworks joining us here on Bearing Arms Cam and Company. So, by the way, I did ask Michael after we finished our interview. All right, so what kind of beer are you giving customers today? I assumed it would be Shiner. No, I forgot. Michael says Lone Star, which absolutely makes sense. So there you go. Drink responsibly, shoot responsibly. I would encourage folks to, again, be safe and responsible throughout your life, no matter whether or not you have a firearm on your hip or a beer in your hand. That's kind of the best way to live. All right, let's turn our attention to today's Armed Citizen story, our good deed of the day, and our recidivist report. Speaking of irresponsible behavior, let's start there, shall we? Story out of Washington State, where a 14-time felon has been charged in federal court in connection with a shooting back in March of this year. 14-time felon. 32-year-old Robert Hensley. He's got a felony conviction for every year of his adult life. He was arrested back in March for allegedly shooting a man in the chest in the parking lot of a Walgreens in Spokane Valley. Those charges, originally filed in state court, have since been dropped because federal charges have been added. Now Hensley is facing felon in possession of a firearm charge. Now, I'm a little confused here. Being convicted on a federal charge of being a felon in possession of a firearm can come with a 10-year prison sentence. It generally does not, however. 5 years, more in line with what we typically see, but it is entirely possible for somebody to be convicted of being a felon in possession of a firearm and get a 2-year federal prison sentence or even a 1-year federal prison sentence. So the idea that local prosecutors are dropping this charge of shooting somebody in the chest in the hopes that, the federal prosecutors are going to come in and treat Mr. Hensley more seriously, I don't know about that. I would have allowed the feds to, I would have encouraged the U.S. attorney there. Go ahead and prosecute Mr. Hensley here on felon in possession charges. But you know what? We're going to still have to go after this guy for attempted murder because the criminal justice system up to this point clearly has not taken Mr. Hensley all that seriously. Again, 14 felonies. And that was before his March arrest. According to the spokesman.com website, back in 2010, Hensley pleaded guilty among the 14 felony convictions. Hensley pleaded guilty 10 years ago to helping a mother and daughter beat and rob a man in Spokane. At the time, according to court documents, he was a member of a local gang. He was sentenced by the way, in that attack to 5 years in prison, which is about the amount of time he's probably going to face if he's convicted at the federal level of being a felon in possession of a firearm. At the state level, though, a 5-year prison sentence doesn't actually mean you're going to be doing 5 years. In Washington State, like most other states, you get time off for good behavior. So 14 felony convictions, not a lot of time behind bars for Mr. Robert Hensley. And I got to say, again, I'm not convinced that this was the right strategy for prosecutors to make. I'm sure it saves them some time and effort, but I'm not sure that it is going to result in a just sentence once Mr. Hensley's trial has concluded. All right, on to today's Armed Citizen story from Florida, where a barbershop owner stopped a would-be armed robbery by shooting and wounding a masked gunman. Happened in Melbourne, Florida, Saturday afternoon. According to police, guy walks into the barbershop, points a gun at employees and customers about 3:30 Saturday afternoon at the New York Hair Barbershop. The gunman is identified as a 24-year-old Marlon Masco of Palm Bay, Florida, was ultimately shot in the hip by one of the barbers who was armed himself. He was disarmed, apprehended by police, and being treated at the Holmes Regional Medical Center in Melbourne, Florida. According to Melbourne Police Lieutenant Ryan Shore, the investigation revealed that it was not actually related to a robbery. It was actually related to a prior haircut transaction that he was unhappy with, or an interaction inside the business. So you might think, I sort of assumed it was an armed robbery, but no, he was upset over his haircut. Yeah, well, listen, here's the thing. And I say this, by the way, as somebody who's been follically challenged for the vast majority of my adult life. You get a bad haircut, here's the great thing about it. If you've got hair, it grows back. It grows back, right? You get a bad haircut, you might look like a doofus for a couple of weeks. Put a hat on. It's okay. You don't need to go down to the barber shop. You don't need to threaten the barber. You don't need to try to take an innocent human life, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to end up in prison. And you know what? They give pretty horrible haircuts in prison. So now Marlon Masco facing charges of aggravated assault with a firearm. The barber who defended himself, his coworkers, and the customers there, the store, not facing any charges because he was acting in self-defense. And a really bad decision on the part of young Mr. Masco there in Melbourne, Florida. A good decision, however, in Jasper, Mississippi, where a volunteer drove from Virginia all the way to Mississippi to deliver 138 cases of bottled water. Hap Alexander is the Virginian's name. That's Hap there in the middle. And the Jasper County Sheriff, Randy Johnson, says that his department had no prior relationship with Hap Alexander before Monday. But he just showed up at 4 a.m. in Bay Springs, Mississippi. Deputies helped Alexander unload his truck at the Jones County Civilian Defense Center. And Hap Alexander said, "I'm driving back to Virginia." The sheriff said he did not get to speak with Hap Alexander personally, but he said the dispatch told him that Alexander was a, quote, very sweet man to talk to over the phone. Sheriff Johnson says this is not the first time we've had someone do something like this. It's just a part of living in the South or living in America. Well, the good news is that Jasper County was not severely impacted by Hurricane Ida. And so the Jasper County Sheriff's going to pay this forward. He says, we don't need these bottles of water, but we're going to make sure that the folks who do need it can get it. So they're donating the 138 cases of bottled water to the Trinity Baptist Church in Laurel, Mississippi. They're collecting goods to send to storm victims in Louisiana. Sheriff Johnson said, it didn't get so bad here, so we're going to try to make sure it gets passed on to someone who needs it. Got to tell you, Hap Alexander, I don't know where in Virginia you are from, sir, but I got to tell you, you make me proud to be a fellow Virginian. Now, I know that Hap's not the only Virginian, by the way, who is actually making the trip down to Louisiana. There have been a number of Red Cross volunteers from the Commonwealth who've also headed down and are doing what they can to help out. But, normally I say in the right place at the right time, willing and able to do the right thing. Well, Hap Alexander wasn't necessarily in the right place because he was in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But he had the right idea, and he had the willingness to go and help others. So for that multi-thousand-mile road trip to help those in need, Hap Alexander, we thank you, sir, for your very, very good deed. And that is all the time we've got for you on this edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company. I want to thank you for being a part of the program. As always, we will be back tomorrow with more of the latest Second Amendment news and information from all across the nation. But be sure to check out bearingarms.com. In the meantime, you'll find even more Second Amendment news that you need to know about. And of course, if you like what you see, you can always become a VIP subscriber. Just go to bearingarms.com/subscribe. Use the promo code GUNS, and you can get 25% off of your VIP membership. We certainly do appreciate your support. It allows us to do programs like this each and every day. And in exchange, we would like to say thank you by giving you exclusive stories and commentary that you won't get anywhere else. So again, bearingarms.com/subscribe. Use the promo code GUNS, and you get 25% off of your membership. Have a great rest of your Hump Day Wednesday. We will be back with you tomorrow. Until then, be well, be safe, and be free.